Hello, Internet! I'm Elliot the Purple Doofus, and welcome to Buddy Reads, where I read a small selection of a book and review it for you. Today we are covering chapters 145 all the way to the end of The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I hope you finished it yourself, because I do not want to ruin anything for you. That's right, you heard me correctly. We are finishing the book today. Yes. The section starts off with stories of close adventures, catching the bandits and the Felorian and all of that stuff, reaching the university. And they aren't without their special little flair. Like the story of him rescuing the two women from the fake traveling troupe. In some stories it was 7 women, in some stories it was a mother and a daughter, in some stories it was 2 best friends. He was just happy to know that in none of the stories did they mention the Edma route. And he sits down with Will and Sim to tell them about his time with the Felorian, and, well, Simon was just kind of like, well, that's kind of bullcrap. Kavoth is thinking to himself, I understand, but trust me, it's real. And then he says, but the real question in all of this is, how old are you really? Will is like, he's 16, maybe 17, or, and he's arguing about that, and Sim's like, no, when you were in the Fae with the Felorian, most stories about a person being lured by a Felorian are like, they were lured over when they were 13, and then they came out a man. So how long were you in there? And Kavoth is like, I don't know. And they're like, well, happy birthday. Or birthdays, maybe. Then Kavoth recaps maybe 2 quarters, and he continues to have his tuition paid by the mayor, so he's doing fine in that regard. He's doing alright, learning stuff, but not great. But it's just kind of glossed over for like 4 or 5 pages. He goes to meet with Kilvin, who owns a fishery, and Kilvin's like, I want to show you something. Kilvin puts down 2 little cubes, and he shows him how these cubes can create a barrier, much like his arrow catch. Kavoth is like, what is this? Kilvin says, I want you to know that even though you created something amazing, there's always something else that does pretty much the same thing. And Kavoth is like, oh, bummer. And then he does some stuff with Eladin. One of the most notable things, and one of the things that he kind of talks about at length compared to the others, is when they went onto the roof of the university during a storm, stripped down naked to feel the wind. And while they were up there, they lost the key to get back down from the storm. And so they were stuck on the roof of the university naked throughout this billowing storm, and they had to wait until the weather calmed down to call down for help. Then Kavoth decides that he is going to do something crazy since he has plenty of time and plenty of money, and he is going to visit Tarbean, which is the small town that he grew up in after his family had been brutally murdered, and the same small town that he was kind of beat to shit with from bullies around town. And he visits there. While he is visiting there, he is at a bar. He is at a drinking establishment. This couple walk in. The woman is dark-haired, dark-eyed, and he looks over at her, and she starts hyperventilating. And Kavoth walks over to her, basically uses the wind to bring air back into her lungs. And it turns out that this woman is Dinah. Remember what I said last video? Dinah. But it has been so long since Kavoth has even mentioned her name that I'm just kind of like, I kind of get why he's doing this right now. It's fine. Yeah. I regret saying that, because now we have this long stretch with Kavoth and Dinah, and I'm just, bored. And they try and catch up, but oh, alas, things are so awkward, because they are tiptoeing around certain subjects with each other, and oh, alas. No. Kavoth takes her home, and I am just sleeping through this section almost. They go on a picnic near the river, and they start listening to the stones' tales. It's this joke that Dinah has for Kavoth. Kavoth is like, okay, I'll play along. And then they're just kind of like gallivanting in the river. Yay! No! I am done! They lie out on this stone to dry off. And Kavoth is like, oh, how do I tell her that she should run away from her Patreon who is beating her? How do I explain this to her? And she notices the lashes on his back, and he's like, oh, I got those from a beating from the school that I won't leave either. And it's just like, no! Why? He accidentally lets slip that he loves her. And she's like, shut up! Leave me alone. He's like, wait, I have a present. And she's like, you couldn't possibly give me anything that I want. And he says, here! And he has the ring that he stole back from Ambrose to give to her. And she's like, oh my god! That's my ring! Oh my god! It's just, no! Then Kvothe sits down with Sim and Fella. And Fella is explaining how women perceive Kvothe. And it's like, you're nice and all, but you're kinda not there when you're with women. You're kinda thinking about other things when you're with women. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, women like it when you pay attention to them, and you don't seem to do that often. And it's at this point that I'm just kind of like, stop being such a baby, Kvothe. He's like done everything right. He has money, he has school, he has friends, and the whole time he's just like, but I don't have a girlfriend. And I'm just like, no! Kvothe then goes to talk with Eladin about calling the wind and saving Dinah's life, and Eladin's like, that's 3 times in a span. Can you do it again? He's like, I probably could. And he's like, can you bend the wind into a ring and wear it on your finger? And Kvothe's like, how do you know it's not there right now? And Eladin's like, is it? And it just kind of leaves that section right there, and I'm just kind of like, eh. Then we find out that Master Hime, who was in control of the archives, is now the Chancellor of the University. And as we all know, Master Hime hates Kvothe. When he goes to do the admissions test, Master Hime slaps him with a 50 talent tuition. And he goes to the treasurer of the university, and the treasurer's like, 50 talents? Okay! And he, gives Kvothe 20 talents because that's part of their deal. Half of anything over 10. And Kvothe has all this money, and he takes his friends out for drinks, and he is just happy. And then we're back at the end, and he's like, I think that's a good stopping point for today. If I were to go any farther, it would start to get dark again. Chronicler's like, accept it. And Kvothe turns to Bass, and he says, you know, that wake is still going on. You should probably go celebrate some more. And Bass is like, I'm not really feeling up to it. And he just kind of stands up solemnly and walks back to his room. While Bass is in his room and he's getting ready for bed, the Chronicler is right outside his window. Bass lets him in. The Chronicler and him discuss the Cathella. Is that how you say it? Cathia. They discuss the Cathia. And it gets really confusing because they're like, how do I know that right now what I'm doing isn't the path that the Cathia wanted Kvothe to go down? How do I know that what I'm doing right now isn't along the path to destroy the world? And there's no real actual way for them to know. But then they become happy when they realize that the Florian let Kvothe loose because she wanted to spread her story out there. She wanted Kvothe to tell her tale. And that is exactly what he's doing. Then we go back to Kvothe's bedroom, and he has dragged out the chest, and he's trying to open it, and he is just getting more and more frustrated because he cannot open that chest. Then we go into the woods, where those 2 soldiers who had robbed Kvothe are, and they are celebrating by a fire. Bast walks up to them, and you find out that Bast had actually arranged for them to steal from Kvothe. And the soldiers are like, oh, but we all got what we wanted, right? And Bast is like, I did not get what I wanted. And they're like, yeah, but here's your money. He's like, I did not want money. He pulls a burning branch from their fire, and he is just grinning in the rain and the fire. Kind of leaves you to guess what happens. I'm pretty sure he just stabbed them to death with a burning branch, but I don't know. And then we have the final epilogue, which is a 3rd session of silence. And now we're done. I can't say that I'm really chomping at the bit for the 3rd book right now. I thought I would be, the way that everyone's like, when is the 3rd book coming out? I'm not there yet. I totally know why I didn't like this book as much as the first. The first book, Kvothe starts at his basically lowest moment, and then he has to prove himself to be the guy that he is. This book, he is the guy that he is, and he has never dipped, really, and it's just, it feels like him bragging most of the time, and it's just so awkward. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you like this video specifically, go ahead and click the like button, and go ahead and leave a comment letting me know what you thought of this book. Because I am not really digging it as much as the first one. I I've been Art the Purple Air Doofus. This has been Buddy Reads, reminding you to watch Epic Game Radius, and I will see you all in my spoiler-free review of The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Toodles!